Yo, ever get the feeling the world is running on fumes? No wars, no crashes, just a weird, creepy silence. Factories are going dark. Hospitals are begging for nurses. Birth rates have crashed harder than a bad crypto portfolio. Boomers are retiring in droves, and Gen Z isn't stepping up. We're talking UN reports, labor stats, real data. So which 10 countries are in the biggest trouble? Japan, Germany, or some curveballs? Stick with me. No fluff, just hard facts. Let's dive in. Number 10, the Netherlands. The Dutch are famous for their logistics, tech innovation, and the massive port of Rotterdam. But in 2026, they're struggling hard. Here's the kicker. The Netherlands has a part-time employment rate of over 50%. That means more than half the workforce is working less than full-time. Sounds flexible, right? Except when you need full-time warehouse workers and truck drivers, nobody's available. The tech sector alone has a 12.3% vacancy rate for high-skilled roles like AI engineers and biotech specialists. Foreign workers now make up nearly 20% of the Dutch workforce, with most coming from Germany and Belgium. That's not a sustainable fix. That's borrowing your neighbor's kids to keep the lights on. The Dutch government is basically begging companies to automate, but you can't robot your way out of a forklift shortage. Construction is also hurting. Projects are delayed because there aren't enough electricians or plumbers. And with the aging population growing fast, elder care facilities are running on skeleton crews. The Netherlands isn't collapsing overnight, but the cracks are showing. And if they don't figure out how to get more full-timers into the workforce, Rotterdam's cranes might start gathering dust. Number 9, Poland. Poland used to be Europe's go-to source for hard-working labor, cheap, reliable, and abundant. But the script has flipped completely. According to Poland's central bank, demand for labor is weakening. But paradoxically, 11% of companies say they can't find workers with the right qualifications. The construction industry is getting slammed the hardest, with employment forecasts dropping nearly 4 percentage points. Why? Because over 77% of Polish firms say they're not hiring due to insufficient demand, yet when they try to hire, the candidates don't have the right skills. It's a brutal mismatch. Millions of Polish workers left for the UK and Germany over the last decade, and they're not coming back. Meanwhile, Poland's fertility rate has dropped to around 1.3 kids per woman, well below the replacement rate of 2.1. The government has tried tax breaks and housing benefits for families, but it's barely made a dent. Manufacturing is also hurting, especially in automotive parts and electronics assembly. And with young Poles preferring to move to bigger cities like Warsaw or Krakow rather than work in rural factories, the labor shortage is becoming a geographic crisis too. Poland isn't out of workers yet, but the pipeline is drying up fast. Number 8, Canada. Canada is the immigration poster child, so how the heck did they make this list? Simple. Retirees are leaving way faster than newcomers can fill those jobs. In 2026, Canada's job market is seeing steady growth of around 1.6% GDP. But critical sectors are screaming for bodies. Healthcare is a disaster zone. Registered nurses, dental assistants, and pharmacy techs are in crazy high demand because the population is aging like milk. Tech isn't much better. AI specialists, cybersecurity analysts, and cloud engineers are basically unicorns. But here's the part that'll blow your mind. Even forklift operators and administrative assistants are on the most in-demand list. The government is so desperate that Statistics Canada is hiring tens of thousands of census workers just to count the people they already have. Roughly half of Canadian hiring managers expect to use more contract or temp workers in 2026 because they can't commit to full-time hires. That's not a labor market, that's a band-aid. Construction trades are also hurting. Electricians, plumbers, and heavy machinery operators are all in short supply. And with housing demand through the roof, that shortage is making homes even more expensive. Canada's immigration system is working, but it's not working fast enough. Number 7, Italy. Italy is a masterclass in how beautiful things can fall apart slowly. The country has high demand for workers in tech, manufacturing, tourism, and renewables, but the bodies just aren't there. The northern regions like Lombardy and Veneto are the economic engines, churning out high-end manufacturing jobs, but employers are struggling to fill them. The South has higher unemployment, but also labor shortages in tourism and agriculture. It's a geographic mess. Italy's birth rate has been stuck below 1.3 kids per woman for years. That's a demographic death spiral. The government has tried cash bonuses for families, but it's barely made a dent. Small businesses, the backbone of the Italian economy, are closing because the owners are old and can't find young people to take over the family shop. You want a handcrafted leather bag? Cool. But the guy who makes it is 72 and has no one to train. Hospitality is also bleeding workers. Hotels and restaurants in Rome, Florence, and Venice can't find enough staff for the summer season. And with the population aging faster than almost any other European country, Italy's pension system is under massive strain. Fewer workers paying in means less money for retirees. It's a vicious cycle, and it's not getting better. Number 6. United Kingdom. Brexit did a number on the UK's labour pool. But in 2026, the real story is the NHS, the National Health Service. The NHS is basically held together with duct tape and good intentions. Job postings for supply chain roles, nursing positions, and lab techs go unfilled for months. Nationwide, the NHS has over 150,000 vacancies. Add logistics, farming, hospitality, and tech, and you're looking at 500,000 empty roles across the country. Here's a specific example. A recent job posting for a supply chain operative at Hull University Teaching Hospitals offers a salary of around £26,000 to £27,500 a year. That's decent money, but the posting explicitly says they cannot sponsor visas for this role. So they're looking for local workers who already have the right to work in the UK, and they still can't find them. The role requires supervising up to 11 supply chain assistants, managing stock, and keeping the whole hospital running. With the UK's fertility rate stuck at 1.5 and the over 65 population booming, the math just doesn't work. You can't upskill your way out of a demographic hole. And with Brexit making it harder to recruit from Europe, the UK is running out of options fast. Farming is also hurting. Fruit and vegetable harvests are rotting in fields because there aren't enough pickers. Number 5. South Korea. South Korea wins the award for the most cursed demographic situation on Earth. The fertility rate, 0.72. Kids per woman as of early 2026. Let me repeat that, 0.72. That's not a typo. That's not even close to the replacement rate of 2.1. In response, South Korea just launched a new economic, social, and labor council to deal with the twin crises of low birth rates and rapid aging. The government is finally admitting that the seniority-based wage system and rigid labor market are making everything worse. Companies can't easily hire or fire, so they're terrified of taking on new workers. Meanwhile, the working age population is shrinking by over 300,000 people every single year. Tech giants like Samsung and LG are struggling to find engineers. Small factories are closing. Even the military is having trouble finding enough young men for service. Seoul has thrown billions at baby bonuses, free daycare, and housing, but young people say they're too stressed and broke to have kids. The result is a labor crisis with no easy fix. They're even talking about adopting the Nordic flexicurity model, where workers accept more flexibility in exchange for better social safety nets. That's how desperate they are. And with the elderly population growing fast, elder care is becoming another critical shortage area. South Korea is ground zero for demographic collapse. Number 4. Spain. Spain is the land of contradictions. High unemployment and labor shortages at the same time. How? Mismatch, my friends. According to BBVA research, Spain's economy is growing, GDP up 2.4% in 2025, with a forecast of 1.8% in 2026. That means jobs are being created, about 16,000 new jobs over the next 2 years, mostly driven by immigration. But here's the problem. The jobs being created aren't the jobs people want. Wages are recovering. Inflation is around 2.9%, and interest rates are finally coming down. So consumption is up. But structural bottlenecks persist. A deficit of new housing, labor shortages in certain sectors, and a generalized stagnation in hourly productivity. Translation: there are jobs, but they're in farming, construction, and hospitality, and young Spaniards would rather wait for an office gig. The government is trying to retrain workers, but you can't teach someone to love picking olives or waiting tables at a tourist trap in August. Agriculture is especially hard hit. Harvests are being delayed because there aren't enough seasonal workers. And with the tourism industry booming again, hotels and restaurants in Barcelona, Madrid, and the Costa del Sol are running on skeleton crews. It's a cultural and economic logjam, and it's not going away anytime soon. Number 3. Germany. Germany is the engine of Europe, and that engine is sputtering. The Mint Report 2026, that's math, IT, natural sciences, and technology for you non-nerds, just dropped a bombshell. Despite the economic crisis, Germany has a Mint skills gap of around 133,900 people as of March 2026. That's not a small number. That's a massive hole in the country's most critical industries. The worst shortages? Energy and electrical occupations, 48,900 vacancies. Metalworking, 26,500 construction, 26,400 machinery and vehicle engineering, 22,900. And here's the really scary part. Demographically, Germany is going to lose about 138,600 Mint professionals from the labor market by 2034. That's if nothing changes. And while Mint employment grew 12.4% between 2014 and 2024, it's expected to fall by 1.8% over the next decade because there just aren't enough young people coming up. The researchers say Germany needs to unlock the potential of women, older workers, and immigrants. But even in the best-case scenario, that only mitigates the disaster. It doesn't fix it. Healthcare is also in crisis. Nurses, doctors, and elder care workers are all in short supply. And with the baby boomer generation retiring in waves, Germany's pension system is under massive pressure. The land of Autobahns and Audi is facing a future where they can't find anyone to build either. Number 2. France. France is usually the exception in Europe. Higher birth rate, better social safety net, more public sector jobs. But 2026 is hitting different. According to the French Ministry of Labor, nearly 300,000 jobs remain unfilled across the country, with significant shortages in hospitality, construction, and renewable energy. That's 300,000 open positions. And get this, those shortages are so bad that the government is now partnering with Talent Beyond Boundaries, a program that connects displaced professionals, refugees, with French employers. They're literally bringing in people who've been forced to leave their home countries to fill jobs in French hotels and construction sites. The hospitality sector alone is bleeding workers, experienced managers, kitchen staff, housekeeping, you name it. And the renewable energy sector, growing fast, but no one to install the solar panels or maintain the wind turbines. The French have this reputation for valuing work-life balance, but when the balance tips too far, the economy tips with it. You can't take a 35-hour work week if there's no one to cover your shifts. Construction is also hurting. Electricians, plumbers, and carpenters are all in short supply. And with the government pushing for massive green energy infrastructure projects, the labor shortage is threatening to derail those plans entirely. France isn't collapsing, but the pressure is building. Number 1. Japan. And here we are. Number 1. The grand champion of demographic collapse. Japan isn't just facing a labor shortage, it's living it, breathing it, and desperately trying to automate its way out of it. The numbers are staggering. Over the past 2 years alone, more than 4 million foreign workers and students have entered Japan. That's not a typo. 4 million. And that marks the fastest immigration shift the country has seen in decades. A nation that once prided itself on cultural homogeneity is now opening its doors to workers from across Asia and beyond, with a new agreement with India expected to accelerate the trend even further. Why the sudden shift? Because Japan's workforce is shrinking faster than a cheap t-shirt in hot water. The birth rate has been stuck below 1.3 for years. The elderly population is nearly 30% of the total, and the government has finally admitted that you can't run an economy on robots and good intentions. Legislative changes have eased entry requirements across key sectors: construction, agriculture, elder care, and services, industries that literally cannot function without outside labor. But here's the tension. Japan has cultivated a reputation as one of the world's most orderly societies. And now they're facing questions about social cohesion, labor rights, and long-term settlement. For decades, the conversation was about keeping Japan Japanese. Now it's about keeping Japan economically alive. The country that once kept migration at arm's length is testing a new model. Controlled openness as a tool of economic survival. Will it work? Too early to tell. But one thing's for sure, Japan is the canary in the demographic coal mine. Yo, that was a lot, right? 10 countries, 10 flavors of the same problem. Not enough hands to do the dang work. Which one blew your mind? South Korea's 0.72 birth rate, Japan's 4 million foreign workers, Germany's 133,000 unfilled engineering jobs. Drop a comment. I read 'em. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to stay sharp on the global economy. The world is changing fast, and the people who understand these trends win. Real wealth is people, and right now, a lot of nations are going broke. Stay smart. Catch you in the next one. Peace.